lights. Be ready, we're about to go green. Go!
Hey guys, what's going on? Cyber Fury here. It's been a while. Unfortunately, I've been super busy with life and work that I just haven't had a chance to sit down and actually record a commentary here. I told you in my last video that I was looking forward to the Ginetta Cup car races on LFM at Laguna Seca. I didn't lie to you, here they are. In this first race, I'm starting off in P6, trying to work my way up the order for a top 5 finish. A few things happen here and there. I'm not going to spoil too much, as is the case running these cars at Laguna Seca. Tons of fun and a super competitive lobby always makes for a good time around this track. What I want to know is, how have you been and what have you been up to? As I said in the beginning, I've been kind of swamped with work and life, so unfortunately, since YouTube is basically just a hobby for me at this point, it got the axe in terms of time management and where I could actually spend time. And the same thing can be said about sim racing in general. I haven't been able to really touch sim racing a whole lot, and that's been a mix of time management as well as not super being interested in a lot of the car track combos that I've seen around. And this extends to multiple different games across multiple different services that I've raced under. It's just been a weird kind of limbo state for me. I don't know if it is basically just not being interested in the combo so far, or if it's one of those things where once you get a chance to jump back in, you dive straight in, and then you end up shoulder deep or knee deep, whatever you want to say, in the hobby that you've taken a little bit of time away from. For me personally, I really hope it's the latter. I'm going to be figuring it out real soon now that we've gotten some time and life has kind of settled out a little bit. I will definitely be jumping back into sim racing, and hopefully I'm not too rusty. Unfortunately, on this corner here, you're going to look at a textbook example of how not to shift the Ginetta Cup car around Laguna Seca, especially that corner. I ended up losing 3 spots there that I was battling for.
7th position.
Not optimal. From my end, there isn't a whole lot to update about, mostly just been keeping on, but I'm interested in what you guys have been up to. Have you been going through school? We're coming into the summertime. Do you have any big summer plans? And for those of you that have been stepped away from sim racing for a little bit, do you have any plans of going back? And for those that have jumped back in, do you have any recommendations about jumping back in? Let me know. I'm all ears. I'd love to hear your opinions down in the comments as I try to catch back up to the little pack here of P6, 5, and 4. Currently in P7, down a spot, but as we're coming around kind of one of the faster corners on Laguna, catching back up, trying to take the inside away, leaving enough space on the outside. However, not quite able to keep the move and make it stick, as the guy in P6 currently has way too much speed going around the outside. So my game plan now is to just try and to stay close enough. I don't exactly want to follow them too close into the corkscrew coming up if I can't pass them here on this kind of relative straight. I'll try again after the corkscrew here. I kind of back out, seeing what was happening there as the person in front of me hits the brakes. And as we come around the corkscrew, I just completely lost the back end. Another textbook example of what not to do. Speaking of, however, on the very next lap, we've got 3 guys going 3 wide into the corkscrew, and it goes about as well as you'd expect it to. 1 guy off in the dirt, next guy in front of me is going super slow, and only 1 guy in the very front, now P5, actually making it out somewhat alive. And this kind of kickstarted a trend, because on the next go around, we have basically the same situation. I don't know if it was 2 wide or 3 wide into the corkscrew and somebody got bumped, but nevertheless, a new minefield emerges on the corkscrew that we try to get through without dying. Luckily, I was able to. And some quick thinking as we take another look at the TV cam here by the blue car on the corkscrew to actually back off of the racing line there to not get absolutely obliterated as I come around the somewhat blind corner where the corkscrew kind of has that hump. You can't really see a whole lot until you're over that hump. So smart thinking by him. However, I will take it, being granted P5 here. And as we come around the next corner, or one of the next corners rather, P4 now having trouble holding his racing line. So he was off in the dirt. He rejoins, still in front of us, but we are catching back up. Unfortunately, again, I cannot figure out the gearing for this final corner. We'll get there eventually, I promise. But for right now, that's going to have me be a little bit behind. Further on this lap, he's going to do the exact same thing, overshooting the corner there, off into the dirt. Now that opens up things for me to now sneak into P4, and I've got a new challenger on my tail. As we approach the corkscrew, I'm really hoping he's not going to dive bomb me, but unfortunately, when you drive in your rearview mirror, you're bound to make mistakes. ended up locking my tires going into the corkscrew, so not an optimal way of going through the corkscrew. And on the subsequent corners, I just don't have the speed to keep up. He's going to take away a P4 from me, and then now I'm jockeying and trying to hold on to P5 as the guy in P6 also has a bunch of speed, and he's going to take the inside line going into the final corner, which unfortunately I just cannot make it stick around the outside. It is too sharp of a corner to be able to carry a whole bunch of speed, especially in the Ginetta Cup cars here, so we're going to have to do our best, try and catch back up. We're not completely out of it though. We're right beside him coming over the hump and barreling down into T1, so it's not a complete loss at this point. There's still tons of mistakes that can be made. These cars are very slidey. They move around a whole lot in this game, so as you can see on the TV cam, he's not exactly the most stable into going into T1. They're trying to carry a lot of speed, and I'm right behind him, so I'm hoping that I can stick close enough to him where I can make him make a mistake. And as you can see here, he pulls out a trick card that I've never seen before. We're used to people using the Become Ethereal Shout in GT7, but this is a whole nother level of ghosting. And now my problem mostly becomes I don't want to rear end him by mistake. Eventually he drops out of the race, but being so shell-shocked from witnessing a real-life ghost in gaming, I end up messing up this corner. And now my concern becomes don't take out the blue car, don't take out the guy behind me. Luckily, both of them were kind of paying attention, so the blue car goes up the inside of me, and the purple, or the pink car, sorry, ends up behind. So as I kind of rejoin in a non-optimal way, luckily the pink car is able to swerve kind of behind me there. Really bad rejoin from my part. But on the next lap, the pink car, I keep wanting to call it purple, the pink car here actually makes a similar mistake. He ends up going off track, and that ends up handing my position back to me. So no harm, no foul, really still up a position from where we started. As we come around the final corner here, we're going to solidify ourselves in P6 in a little bit of history. So up one position overall from where we started. Not a bad showing. A lot of fluctuation throughout the race, a lot of things happening in this race, and overall an alright race. Not the best, not the worst, but I'm willing to accept that. I'm just happy there was no massive spin out when we went from first to last, so improving on this journey thus far. Coming into race 2, the one thing that I wanted to highlight here is just how close the first three positions are, within 3/4 tenths of each other, but especially between me and the guy in P1, less than a tenth between us, so this can be a very competitive race. And off the bat, off the green, here we go. We absolutely rocket off the line into P1. I don't know what P1 was actually doing, if it was just a bad jump or what was going on, but at this point I'm not going to question it. Here's another look of the launch here, just absolutely rocketing forward compared to the rest of the grid, which means I might be doing at least one thing right so far. That's huge for me, coming over the hump in P1, starting to get a little bit of a gap between me and the guy in P2, and that's going to be the game plan, is just how far ahead can we get, how much of a gap can we actually put between us and the rest of the pack. Pretty standard stuff when it comes to racing when you're in P1 off the rip, wanting to make sure that we can get fast, consistent lap times in. We know we're about the same speed as the guy who was in P2 originally, so ideally, if everything lines up perfectly, we should be in a pretty good spot of holding the lead here and not having to worry about him. Praying right now that P2, P3, and P4, etc. begin fighting so that we have a chance to go even further ahead. And as you can see, coming around after the first lap, we're still in P1 with between a second or two gap to the person behind us, so fully out in front, although not exactly in can't catch me territory at this point. If we do make a massive mistake, they're going to be right on us, and every time we go into a corner a little bit slower than them, they're going to be inching their way back. Really hoping at this point though, with the gap between P3 and P4, that P2 and P3 begin a really hard fight and end up slowing each other down massively. That's going to really help me launch out in front and keep my lead, but from my perspective, that's not really something that you can control. You just have to run your race, do your own thing, and make sure you're as clean as possible. Don't worry about them, just eyes forward, keep your eyes on your times, your lap times, try and be as consistent as possible. You're out in front for a reason right now, just try and stay there, and that is really the game plan and the mentality coming into this. No need to worry about everyone behind you. Let them battle, let them make mistakes, let them slow themselves down. Just make sure that you're consistent and you're doing your laps. Get in, do your laps, get out, hopefully is still in P1. As we start to come into the end of this lap, right now I've got about a 2-second gap to P2 and P3. They are very neck and neck, very cutthroat right now. However, if you note, those times are kind of coming down a little bit. They fluctuate around corners, so about 1.5 to 2 seconds stay in the lead. Still trying to hold out in front. This is actually my fastest lap of the race, so feeling pretty good into lap 2. However, about a few laps further, about 3 laps ahead, you can see that gap has come down tremendously from about 1.5 to 2 seconds down to 0.8, and P3 is 8 seconds behind. So obviously something has happened to P2, P3, and now P2 is actually on my butt, absolutely sniffing me down, trying to get past me. Now my game plan goes, instead of trying to get out as fast as possible, to how do I make it as annoying as possible for him to pass me. Since what's done is done and I've been caught lacking on these last laps, it's important for me to make sure that I don't lack any further, that I now take up inside racing lines, picking the best lines for me to get through, parking myself on the apex, and making sure that I just make that car as big as possible as I can possibly make it. Obviously, while doing everything as legal as possible, not trying to stir up a muck in online leagues here, and just overall trying to have a good, close race. So far, I've been able to hang around the outside of these important corners or hang up on the inside on the apex to make sure that he can't get past me. But it's becoming increasingly clear that he is going to have better pace than me, especially with these last laps that I've been doing that have been in the 140, I believe 6s, 147s, instead of the 144s where my fastest resides. Not great, and obviously I've opened the door for him to actually come back in this race. Had I kept up with that pace, it might have been a different story. However, let's not worry about the what ifs. Let's worry about the reality of the here and now. And the here and now dictates that you must defend as much as you can and try and hold on for the latter half, essentially, of this race, while subsequently trying to refine the pace that you had on lap 2. Coming around the final corner on this lap, you can see that we're both kind of feeling the pressure, letting the car slide a little bit more than normal. I'm definitely feeling the pressure of him right behind me, and I'm sure with every passing corner, every passing lap, he's also feeling a sense of growing frustration trying to get around me. Definitely not an easy position to be in when you know that the person in front of you is slower than you and that you'd be way out ahead if given the chance. So trying to keep him here is my best bet. However, it is slowing us both down a bit. P3, that was 8 seconds behind, is now 5-6 seconds behind, so we're losing about 2 seconds per, I wouldn't say per lap, but we're losing a significant amount of time per lap the more that we fight this goes on for. The smart thing on my end maybe is to let him go. Maybe it's not. There's still a whole lot of race left. At this point, I wasn't thinking about real race strategy. I was mostly just thinking about keeping him behind me as much as I can, really trying to defend my position, and maybe that wasn't the smartest move in the end. However, coming into the corkscrew here, this is really, really close. He ends up taking the inside line, and we end up bumping doors, which really doesn't work out well for me. I'm off into the sand. He luckily is able to recover a lot better than I am on this. But taking another look here, I think what happened was we were both trying to squeeze each other as much as possible, and what ended up happening was I hit kind of a weird bump, which kind of threw me into him a little bit as he was trying to squeeze me outward, and contact happened. I don't think there was really anything intentional or malicious on any of our ends. It was mostly just a racing incident, but let me know down below what you think. Who was in the wrong there? Was it my fault? Was it his fault? I'll take the blame on this one. I probably shouldn't have really been there. So live and learn. Lesson learned coming into the corkscrew. If I'm on the outside like that, let them have it. After that climactic end, the next subsequent laps really didn't have a whole lot going on. The important thing here is to note the gap that he has been able to put between me and him, now into 4 or 5 second territory, and I end up kind of creating this bubble where I'm equal distance from P1 as I am from P3. So with the bubble intact, you kind of enter this flow state, eyes glaze over, and this is where mistakes happen. Fortunately, I'm able to jump into action after taking this corner super wide and really force the car back onto the track and under control. However, when you take a look at it from the TV cam, it looks like the car barely moved at all. Definitely looked a lot better from the cockpit cam and not from the external cam, but we're not going to say anything. We're just going to say how epic of a save that was. after me being an idiot, not paying attention completely. At this part of the race, I just got a call out from crew chief that there was a problem in the hairpin, and I was really hoping at the time that it was P1 that had a problem there. Unfortunately, it was just a back marker who on the corkscrew decides to just kind of end his race there. He's good, he's fine. As we get another look on the TV cam here, tragedy strikes for him. As we come around the final corner, we're going to end up in P2, so didn't really end up any different from where we started. Started P2, ended P2, but had a really good chance at P1 if I didn't throw it away. So definitely the theme of this race was kind of make sure you're consistent and you don't humble yourself like I unfortunately did here. However, P2 is still a podium position, so can't really be too upset about that. Plus safety rating, plus E-reload, plus license rating, so overall ended up working out pretty well. Could have been a lot better, but again, what ifs, don't worry about them. Thank you everyone so much for watching, especially if you've made it this far into the video. Drop a like down below if you enjoyed. Drop a comment, let me know what you're up to these days, or drop a verdict on the racing incident and if I should be banned for life. Just kidding, hopefully. And as always, if you have any tips, tricks, or ideas for me, I also want to hear them down below. You guys are awesome. Have a good day or night, depending on when you're watching this. And I will catch you in the next one, hopefully pretty soon here. Peace.